Welcome to Archive Vault, where we explore declassified records, hidden histories, and state-level investigations. Please note, some illustrative narration is AI-generated for storytelling purposes. All content is educational and documentary-based. By the early 1970s, the program at Edgewood Arsenal begins to wind down. Public attention toward chemical weapons increases. International agreements move toward limiting their use. In 1975, the United States signs the Biological Weapons Convention. Around this period, human testing programs at Edgewood come to an end. For years, the details remain largely unknown outside military and intelligence circles. Many of the records stay classified. The soldiers who participated return to civilian life or continue military service. Some report no lasting issues. Others later describe health concerns. In the decades that follow, veterans begin asking questions. Some say they were not fully informed about what they were exposed to. Others report long-term neurological or psychological symptoms. Lawsuits are filed. Advocacy groups form. Requests for medical records are submitted. In the 1980s and 1990s, portions of the program become public through declassified documents and media reporting. The Army acknowledges that human testing occurred at Edgewood Arsenal. Official statements confirm that thousands of service members participated in chemical agent studies. Reviews are conducted to evaluate consent procedures and long-term monitoring. In 2009, the Institute of Medicine publishes a report reviewing the available data. The report concludes that long-term health effects are difficult to determine due to limited follow-up records. Some veterans continue to seek recognition and medical support. The Department of Veterans Affairs establishes processes for evaluating claims related to Edgewood participation. The scope of exposure varies by individual. Not every participant received the same substances. Not every dose was equal. Documentation exists, but not all records are complete. Over time, the story shifts from classified program to historical case study. The stated purpose was national defense during a period of global tension. The participation was labeled voluntary. The oversight was internal. The long-term outcomes remain unevenly documented. What is acknowledged is that human testing occurred. What remains debated is whether every participant understood the risks at the time. The existence of the Edgewood Arsenal human testing program is not disputed. Official Army documents confirm that between the 1950s and 1975, thousands of service members participated in chemical agent research. Declassified records describe the testing of nerve agents, incapacitating agents, and psychoactive substances. Congressional inquiries in the 1970s and later reviews acknowledged that informed consent standards during the Cold War differed from modern requirements. Signed consent forms exist in program archives. What those forms explained in detail varies by case. Some documents state that participants were told they might be exposed to chemicals for research related to national defense. Full chemical identities were not always disclosed at the time of testing. Government reports confirm that follow-up medical tracking of participants was limited after the program ended. The Department of Defense and the Department of Veterans Affairs later created processes allowing former participants to request records and file health claims. Not all records are complete. Some files remain partially redacted. The program was described internally as defensive research, intended to understand chemical threats and develop protective measures. It operated during a period of intense Cold War competition, when chemical and biological warfare capabilities were being studied by multiple nations. What is documented is the structure of the program, the categories of chemicals tested, and the approximate number of volunteers involved. What is less certain is the long-term impact on every individual participant. Some veterans report lasting health concerns. Others report no major effects. Official reviews state that available data does not allow universal conclusions about long-term harm. The records show organized experimentation under military oversight. They show classification. They show later declassification. They show acknowledgement. They do not provide a single, simple outcome. The Edgewood Arsenal program moved from secrecy to partial transparency over decades. It remains an example of how national security research intersected with human participation during the Cold War. The documents confirm it happened. They outline how it operated. They show that consent forms were signed. They show that questions followed. And beyond that, the evaluation of what it meant depends on which record you read, which file was preserved, and which voice was heard later. You are a young soldier in the 1950s. You are told you have been selected for a special assignment. It will not involve combat. It will help your country. You are sent to a place called Edgewood Arsenal in Maryland. The facility sits along the Chesapeake Bay. It is operated by the United States Army. Its purpose is research. During the Cold War, the United States is studying chemical weapons, nerve agents, incapacitating agents, substances that affect the mind and body. The government wants to understand how these chemicals work, not only on battlefields, but on humans. Between the early 1950s and the mid-1970s, thousands of soldiers passed through Edgewood Arsenal as test subjects. The Army refers to them as volunteers. They sign consent forms. They are told they will participate in medical research. Some are told they may experience temporary discomfort. Some are told they may be exposed to non-lethal agents. Many are not given full details of the substances involved. The program studies a range of chemicals. Nerve agents such as VX and sarin are examined in controlled settings. Other substances include incapacitating compounds designed to confuse, disable, or disorient. Hallucinogens are also tested. LSD becomes one of the most studied drugs at the facility. Researchers want to observe how perception changes, how behavior shifts, how quickly a person loses the ability to function normally. The Cold War environment shapes the urgency. Intelligence reports suggest that other nations are conducting similar research. The United States does not want to fall behind. At Edgewood, experiments are organized, recorded, and classified. Soldiers are brought into controlled chambers. They are monitored by medical staff. Data is collected. The stated purpose is national defense. The stated framework is voluntary participation. Over time, the number of test subjects grows. Official records later indicate that more than 7,000 service members participated in experiments at Edgewood Arsenal. The program runs for over 2 decades. It remains largely unknown to the public during that time. Outside the gates of the facility, daily life continues. Inside, chemicals are measured, doses are calculated, reactions are observed. The soldiers who enter the program leave with paperwork. What they leave with physically or psychologically is not yet fully discussed, and the question begins quietly. When you volunteer under military command, how much choice do you truly have? Inside the facility, the experiments follow procedure. Soldiers are scheduled in groups. Some are placed in observation rooms. Others are led into chambers designed to control air and exposure. Protective masks are sometimes used. In other tests, they are removed. Doses are measured carefully. Researchers record heart rate, blood pressure, pupil dilation, motor control, speech patterns. Nerve agents such as sarin and VX are studied in controlled microdoses to measure physiological response. Protective antidotes are also tested. The goal is to understand how long a person can function after exposure and how quickly treatment must be administered. Other tests focus on incapacitating agents. Chemicals such as BUR are used to study confusion and disorientation. Subjects report hallucinations, time distortion, difficulty recognizing surroundings. Some lose the ability to perform basic tasks. LSD is administered in multiple trials. Researchers observe how perception shifts. Some soldiers describe vivid visual effects. Others report paranoia or extreme anxiety. In certain studies, participants are not told the exact substance they are receiving. They are informed they are part of chemical research for national security. The full classification of the compounds is often withheld. Exposure methods vary. Some tests involve inhalation, others involve skin contact. In select cases, subjects remain under observation for hours or days. Reports are written. Behavior is noted in detail. The official framework describes the program as voluntary and controlled. However, later reviews question whether participants fully understood the risks. Some soldiers state they believe refusing participation could affect their military standing. Documentation shows consent forms were signed. It does not always show that long-term effects were explained. The experiments continue year after year. The program evolves as new compounds are developed. Data accumulates. Most of it remains classified during the active years of testing. Outside the facility, the public is unaware. Inside, thousands of service members experience controlled exposure to substances designed to disrupt the human body and mind. The research is labeled defensive. The long-term consequences are not yet part of the official conversation. Thank you for listening to Archive Vault Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive and found it insightful. Wishing you a great week ahead, and remember to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. We'll be back soon with more stories from the archives. See you next time.